Have you ever felt that there's a stronger, more confident version of yourself inside, but an inner voice of doubt and fear stops you from reaching it? The truth is, this insecurity isn't who you are. It was built, little by little, by criticism and fears that suffocated your inner strength. This blockage holds you hostage, causing you to postpone important decisions and preventing you from living your true potential. But what if I told you there is an ancient wisdom used by emperors and sages, capable of training your mind for confidence? In this guide, I will reveal 10 direct Stoic practices to dissolve insecurity and finally unleash the strength that already exists within you. So, if you're ready to take back control of your mind, stay with me until the end. And before we dive in, I need your help to create a wave of strength that goes far beyond this screen. Your like is not just a click, it's a signal that helps this message find someone who is feeling lost. Your comment, even a simple "I'm ready," builds a community of support right here, showing others they are not alone. Sharing this video could be the turning point a friend desperately needs. And by subscribing, you join a movement of people committed to becoming stronger. Let's build this together. Done? Now, let's begin. Lesson 1. Abandon the tyranny of perfection. Embrace the power of progress. How many times have you found yourself at the starting line of a new project, a new idea, or a new phase of life, only to remain motionless? The reason often is a seductive and paralyzing whisper, "I'm not ready yet." How many opportunities have been lost? How many decisions postponed? All because of the overwhelming fear of making a mistake, of being judged, of not executing every step with superhuman perfection. If this feeling is familiar to you, know that you are not alone. Our society often confuses perfectionism with excellence and effort. But Stoic wisdom alerts us to a crucial truth. Perfection is not an ideal to be achieved. It is a prison. It is a subtle and dangerous trap that dresses itself in the noble guise of high standards, but whose interior is made of pure fear. Perfectionism is, in its essence, insecurity in disguise. It is the fear of not being good enough, cloaked as a high standard. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a master of focusing on what is practical and transformative, did not evaluate his students by their absence of flaws. He did not ask, "Did you do everything right today?" Instead, his question was infinitely more powerful and liberating. Did you make progress? Why is this distinction so vital? Because progress, no matter how small, propels you forward, keeps you in motion, teaches you, and strengthens you. The pursuit of perfection, on the other hand, keeps you stagnant, analyzing every detail to the point of paralysis. You want so badly to get everything right that you forget the most fundamental action, to act. Think about the energy that perfectionism steals from you. A simple task turns into a monumental project that takes twice as long. An important project is postponed indefinitely because it's not good enough yet. You refuse to share your work, your art, your ideas, because you believe they can still be improved. And so the world never sees the best you have to offer because you yourself keep it locked away. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher, wrote in his Meditations, "Do not wait for Plato's Republic. Be content with the smallest advance and do not consider the result a small thing. What transforms you is not the finished and perfect masterpiece. It is the act of laying the first stone, even if it's crooked. It's what you had the courage to do, to bring into the world, even while trembling with fear." Today's practice. Free yourself right now from the impossible ideal. Look at the task you have been postponing and take the first step, no matter how small. Give yourself permission to create a draft or a version 1.0. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Then and only then do you worry about improving it. This is the path of real evolution. It is the path to building self-esteem based on concrete action, not the illusion of perfection. Lesson 2. Remember your mortality to truly begin to live. It may seem somber at first glance, even morbid, but the practice of memento mori, remember that you will die, is paradoxically one of the most liberating and life-affirming ideas in all of Stoic thought. It is not about an obsession with the end, but a tool to give meaning, urgency, and clarity to the present. Marcus Aurelius, in his reflections, constantly confronted this reality. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not a threat to generate panic, but a call to awaken. It is a sharp reminder that our time is the most precious and finite resource we possess. The insecurity that today seems like an insurmountable giant may simply not exist tomorrow along with us. The truth is that the vast majority of our anxieties, fears, and insecurities flourish in the fertile soil of illusions. We worry excessively about what others will think or say. We feel ashamed of appearing weak or of failing publicly. We constantly doubt whether we are good, smart, or capable enough. But when you place these fears under the dazzling light of your own mortality, they begin to wither. Their illusory structures crumble. You realize that the opinions of others, the small gaffe, the mistake in the project, none of it has the weight that your anxious mind has assigned to it. You understand, in a visceral way, that you are not here on this earth to collect fears and regrets, but to live with courage, purpose, and meaning. Think about this. 100 years from now, no one will remember if you stammered during a presentation or made a trivial mistake at work. But you will know, perhaps too late, of all the experiences you failed to live, the loves you let pass, the talents you left dormant, all for fear of appearing imperfect. How many dreams have you postponed due to insecurity? Memento mori is not about death. It is about the urgency of living fully. It's about waking up to the preciousness of each moment before it's too late. Today's practice. Make this an active mental exercise. Take your biggest current insecurity. Now, visualize it from the perspective of your last day on earth. What remains of it? How important does it seem now? Usually it becomes insignificant. After this reflection, commit to doing one small thing today that your fears are trying to stop you from doing. It could be sending that email, making that call, or simply expressing an honest opinion. Act because real life happens in action, not in waiting. Honor your time and insecurity will lose its power. Lesson 3. Accept the flow of change, or it will drag you by force. Change is not a polite visitor. It does not knock on the door and does not ask for permission. It simply enters, turns the furniture upside down, undoes certainties, breaks routines, and at times breaks our hearts. However, Stoic wisdom teaches us that what truly hurts us is not the change itself, but our fierce and futile resistance to it. Seneca, one of the greatest exponents of Stoicism, captured this truth with poetic precision. While I am speaking of the course of change, I have already changed. He reminds us that nothing we see, feel, or are remains static. The metaphor of the river is central here. You never step into the same river twice, for the waters have changed and you are no longer the same. The problem is that, even knowing this intellectually, we cling. We cling to a job that has lost its meaning, to a relationship that no longer has reciprocity, to an old image of who we once were, as if the past could serve as a shield against the uncertainty of the present. But the past cannot save us, because life, by its very nature, does not stop. The more you resist its flow, the more it drags you, hurts you, and tires you. Insecurity is not born from the new, but from our desperate attachment to what was. It is born from the fear of losing a control that, in truth, we never had. Zeno of Citium, the founder of the Stoic school, used a powerful image to illustrate our relationship with change. He said that we are like a dog tied by a leash to a moving cart. The cart is life, fate, the flow of things. It will move, with or without your cooperation. The dog, which represents each of us, has two options. It can walk alongside the cart, keeping pace with it with lightness and intelligence, or it can dig its paws into the ground, resist, and be brutally dragged, choking itself in the process. The choice of how to walk exists, but the movement of the cart does not stop. Accepting change is not passive resignation or conformity. It is a form of active wisdom. It is understanding that every change brings with it an implicit invitation to evolve, to detach, and to start over with more wisdom and intention. Today's practice. Identify an area in your life where you are actively resisting a change. It could be a cycle that has ended, a plan that no longer makes sense, a relationship that has changed. Instead of fighting the inevitable, ask yourself the questions that liberate. What is this situation trying to teach me? What in me needs to change, along with what is changing out there? Practice the act of letting go. Understand that letting go is not weakness, it is maturity. It is the first step to transforming what seemed like an end into a new beginning. Lesson 4. True freedom begins in the mastery of oneself. Have you ever stopped to notice that most of the time, your greatest adversary, the one who hinders and sabotages you the most, is yourself? It's not a colleague's critical comment that ruins your day. It's your reaction to it, the way you internalize it and repeat it. In your mind, it's not the unexpected traffic jam that spoils your mood. It's how much you allow yourself to be dominated by frustration and anger. Stoicism teaches us that true power, true freedom, lies not in controlling the external world, but in learning to govern our internal world. And this has a name: self-control. It is essential to demystify this word. Self-control is not coldness, apathy, or suppression of emotions. It is, in fact, the opposite. It is lucidity in the midst of chaos. It is the wisdom to recognize that not every provocation deserves a response. Not every emotion needs to turn into a drama, and not every impulse needs to be followed by an action. Seneca wrote, "Learn to discard the part of you that disappoints. Concentrate on what you can control." And what disappoints us the most? It is when we act on impulse and regret it a second later. It is when we explode at someone we love, when we spend money we shouldn't have, when we say the cruel word that didn't need to be said, or when we feed negative thoughts that only sink us. Self-control is the space of power that exists between the trigger, the external event, and your reaction. It is a millisecond of conscious pause where you stop being an automatic reactor and become an actor who chooses. In that brief moment, you decide to act as the commander of your own life, not as a ship adrift at the mercy of emotions. This translates into practical actions. Do you feel the pang of envy? Acknowledge it. Breathe and transform it into inspiration. Do you feel the wave of anger rising? Perceive it. Channel that energy into a firm and clear response instead of a destructive outburst. Do you feel anxiety about the future overwhelming you? Return to the present, to your breath, to the ground beneath your feet. Today's practice. Become an observer of your own triggers. Throughout today, pay attention not to punish yourself, but to understand. What throws you off center? Is it a specific person, situation, a thought? Just notice and name it. This is anger, this is fear. The simple act of naming it creates distance. From that distance, you can choose a different response, one more aligned with the person you want to be. It is in this daily and repeated choice that real strength is built. Lesson 5. You have the ability to rewrite your limiting beliefs. Imagine trying to run a marathon with a heavy chain attached to your ankle. You can have the best shoes, the best training, the greatest willpower, but every step will be a disproportionate struggle. This chain is a perfect metaphor for the limiting beliefs we carry about ourselves. They are the invisible weight that sabotages our best efforts. Perhaps at some point in your life, someone told you that you were slow, lazy, weak, or incapable. Perhaps you failed once and in that moment of pain decided you would never try again. Often, the exact origin is not even remembered, but your mind continues to act as if that sentence were an absolute and immutable truth. These old voices rarely shout, they whisper, and the devastating problem is that on some level you believed them. Epictetus gave us the key to unlock this mental prison. People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. In other words, the power is not in what happened to you in the past. It is in what you continue to believe about yourself because of it. Beliefs are not fleeting thoughts. They are deep roots that shape everything you see, feel, and choose. If these roots are rotten, planted in the idea of I am not capable or I am not worthy, your life will inevitably grow twisted, full of fear and self-sabotage. But here is the most liberating news. You have the power to pull out these weeds and plant new seeds. You can rewrite your own mental story. Stoicism does not teach us to ignore pain, but to look at it with lucidity and to challenge the conclusions we drew from it. You can and should refute the idea that you always fail or that you were not born for this. Today's practice: begin a process of internal investigation. Identify the belief. What is the negative phrase your mind repeats? I can't, I'm not capable, etc. Write it down. Question the origin. Where did this belief come from? Was it something someone said? A specific experience? Look for contradictory evidence. Your mind is great at finding proof that confirms the negative belief. Now, force it to do the opposite. List all the times, no matter how small, that you were capable, that you demonstrated competence. Formulate a new belief. Create a new, more realistic and empowering sentence. Instead of I can't, try I can learn to do this, or I am in the process of becoming capable. Repeat and act. Repeat this new belief to yourself and, most importantly, start acting as if it were true. Every small action you take in alignment with the new belief strengthens it and weakens the old one. Lesson 6. Take ownership of what is yours. Let go of what is not up to you. A large part of our insecurity and chronic anxiety comes from a fundamental strategic error. We are constantly trying to control what was never and will never be under our control. We waste a monumental amount of energy trying to predict and manipulate how others will react, how things will turn out, and when reality doesn't cooperate, we fall apart. But perhaps the problem is not fragility, but rather a lack of clarity about where our jurisdiction ends and where the universe begins. Epictetus summarized what is perhaps the most practical teaching of Stoicism in a simple sentence. Some things are up to us, others are not. This is the famous dichotomy of control. Let's detail this. What is not up to you? The opinions of others, the final results, the health of others, the economy, the weather, the past. What is up to you? Your choices, your actions, your character, your effort, your reaction to events, your words. Insecurity is born and feeds on the exact moment you forget this distinction. You spend all your energy in the field of the uncontrollable, trying to please, to predict, to control. And you get frustrated because the return is always uncertain. Think of the example of a job interview. The insecure approach is to focus on the uncontrollable. Will they like me? The Stoic approach is to focus 100% on what is under your control, your preparation, your clarity, your honesty, your presence. Once you do your absolute best in these areas, the result is out of your control, and you can accept it with serenity, knowing you did everything you could. This peace is not indifference, it is wisdom. Today's practice. Create a mental or written control worksheet. List all your current worries. For each one, ask, is this under my control? If the answer is no, your task is to practice acceptance and let it go. If the answer is yes, your task is to focus all your energy on acting with clarity and virtue. This exercise, done regularly, removes the fuel from anxiety and gives the power back to you. Lesson 7. Begin to truly understand yourself through self-observation. Stoicism was never a purely academic exercise. It was, and still is, an eminently practical philosophy, a daily discipline, a courageous dive into the depths of our own being. Above all, it is a path of self-knowledge. The Stoics did not study to appear wise, but to become conscious, knowing that the greatest strength of a human being lies not in their appearance, but in their clarity about who they are. You can conquer the world, but if you do not know what goes on inside you, if you do not understand the mechanisms behind your own decisions, everything falls apart at the first criticism or the first unresolved doubt. Seneca brilliantly observed, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The vast majority of your fears and insecurities are not in external events but in your mind, in the way you interpret things. This is why getting to know yourself is not a luxury, it is a matter of emotional survival. Those who do not know themselves live by reacting. Those who know themselves choose how to act with consciousness. But how do you practice this self-knowledge? It is not about waiting for a mystical revelation. It is about having the courage to look with honesty at what you feel without running away. It's about stopping blaming the world and starting to ask yourself, what in me still allows this to happen? It is understanding that your anger often hides a fear, that your procrastination hides perfectionism, and that your anxiety comes from trying to control everything. Today's practice. Adopt the practice of the Stoic philosophical diary. At the end of each day, set aside 10 minutes, not to list what you did, but to reflect on how you acted and reacted. Ask yourself questions like, what bad habit did I combat today? What temptation did I resist? In what aspect did I improve? Patience, courage, etc. When was I thrown off my center today? Why? How did I react? Were my actions today aligned with the person I aspire to be? Stoicism works like a mirror. At first, you may not like what you see, but it is precisely there that true transformation begins. You cannot change what you do not know, but when you begin to understand what moves you, what holds you back, and what makes you flee, you gain immense power, the power to act with intention. Lesson 8. Your mind believes the story. You repeatedly tell it, pay attention for a moment, not to the sound around you, but to the dialogue that happens incessantly inside your head. What is the tone of this conversation? Is it a supportive voice or that of a relentless critic? When you make a mistake, what does this voice say? Again, you failed. You never learn. Do you know what is most dangerous? It is not the mistake itself. It is what you say to yourself right after it. Marcus Aurelius understood this perfectly when he wrote, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." The way you treat yourself in your inner world largely determines the quality of your life in the outer world. If your mind is a battlefield, you will live on constant alert. If it is a courtroom, you will live feeling judged. But when your mind becomes a sanctuary, a safe place, everything changes. Tony Robbins echoes this ancient wisdom. The only person who can change your life is you. And that change begins in the silent conversation you have with your own mind. Today's practice. Swap accusation for guidance. Become a conscious translator of your internal dialogue. When the critical voice says, "I messed everything up again," consciously translate it to, "I made a mistake and now I can learn from it." When the voice says, "Nothing ever works out for me," translate it to, "Things are difficult, but I keep trying." This is not self-deception. It is emotional intelligence. It is you taking the wheel of your narrative. A powerful antidote to self-judgment is gratitude. but not mechanical gratitude, real felt gratitude that recognizes what you have, the small victories, the body that still carries you. Gratitude shifts the focus from what is lacking to what already exists, and this calms, strengthens, and transforms. Lesson 9. Intentionally grow beyond your comfort zone. The comfort zone has an almost irresistible appeal. At first glance, it seems like a safe haven, a place of predictability. The problem is that over time, this shelter begins to shrink, and its walls, which once protected, now imprison. What was comfort transforms into limitation and stagnation. Stoicism teaches us an inescapable law. Growth only happens outside the territory of the predictable, on the frontier of discomfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Life requires action, not guarantees." And yet, we spend much of our lives insisting on the opposite, waiting for the total certainty that never comes. The truth is that the comfort zone is not made of peace. It is made of repetitions, and repetitions without challenge lead to stagnation. Then arises the painful paradox. You want to change, but you don't want to risk. You want to be stronger, but you don't want to feel discomfort. You want to overcome insecurity, but you don't want to leave what you already know. Expanding the comfort zone does not mean doing crazy things, but rather doing small things differently and deliberately. It is saying what you have always swallowed, trying what you have always postponed. Every time you do something new, your brain registers, "This is possible." Gradually, the uncomfortable becomes known, the unthinkable becomes habit, and what was fear becomes your new base. You overcome insecurity not by hiding, but by testing yourself. Today's practice. Use the technique of voluntary inconvenience. Deliberately choose to do something today that causes you slight discomfort. Social. Start a conversation with a stranger. Give your opinion in a meeting. Give a sincere compliment. Mental. Read about a subject you don't understand. Try to learn something new that intimidates you. Physical. Take a slightly colder shower. Take the stairs. The key is intention. You are training your mind to tolerate and thrive in discomfort. Every small step outside the zone is a giant step towards your self-confidence. Lesson 10. Begin to walk your own path with firmness and integrity. There comes a decisive moment in anyone's journey, a moment when you must, as a matter of self-respect, stop reaching outward for validation, applause, and permission, and start building yourself from within. It is the moment when, even with fear, even with doubts, you consciously choose to keep moving forward on the path you have defined for yourself. Because the lasting security you so desperately seek out there is actually born when you begin to walk with integrity, even if no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius, in one of his most austere moments of self-exhortation, wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Spoken with this firmness, this sentence is not cruelty but a call to freedom. It is a powerful reminder that you are more capable than your complaining mind makes you think, that there is a strength within you that only you can activate by living with purpose, not for applause. Your life is not a comparison. It is not a stage. It is a path. And this path can only be built when you stop being distracted by what others expect of you and start honoring what you expect of yourself. You do not need to solve everything now, but you need to start with one gesture, one habit, one decision. Stoicism is a tough practice to be lived. It is getting up with what you have, acting even with fear, and redoing with dignity. It is waking up tomorrow and repeating, even without witnesses. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to evolve. Today's practice. Define your inner compass. Set aside time to answer, what are my most important values? Choose one of these values. Now define one small action you can take today that honors that value. Take this step not to impress anyone, but to respect the person you are becoming. Every small action aligned with your values builds, stone by stone, a life of self-confidence and meaning. We have journeyed through 10 lessons, 10 gateways to a stronger and more serene mindset. We have seen the importance of trading perfection for progress, of using mortality as fuel for life, and of flowing with change instead of fighting against it. We have learned to find freedom in self-control, to rewrite limiting beliefs, to focus only on what we can control, and to know ourselves through honest self-observation. We explored the power of a constructive inner dialogue, the necessity of stepping out of the comfort zone, and finally, the importance of building our own path with integrity. The end of this text, however, is not a final destination. It is the true starting point. The eradication of insecurity and the building of solid self-confidence are not one-time events, but a continuous process, a daily practice. There will be days when you feel unshakable and days when the old doubt will try to creep back in. The difference now is that you are armed with tools. You have a map. Always remember, you do not need to walk fast, you just need to keep walking with truth, knowing what is important to you, walking with clarity, distinguishing what is in your power from what is not, and walking with courage, taking the next step even when fear is present. Because the person who walks with purpose is already winning the most important battle of all, the battle for oneself. May this guide have helped you to see your life and yourself from a new angle, an angle of greater power, peace, and possibility. The strength has always been there. Now go and use it. If this journey resonated with you, help us keep this chain of strength going. Comment below with the one lesson that impacted you the most. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. A simple like and share helps this message reach those who are struggling in silence. And if you haven't already, subscribe to continue building your inner fortress with us. Your journey doesn't have to end here. To build upon today's foundation, click the video now on your screen to learn a powerful Stoic technique for overcoming anxiety in difficult moments. Thank you for watching.